Good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody's doing well. Starting to get our NFP reaction. You can see that's dropping us back down. Overall, we've been on a great run up. We got up and tapped 4,200, 4,208 yesterday. And then we fell back to key levels, rallied back. We had our Apple, Google, and Amazon that reported last night after the bell. We'll take a look at each of those reactions. But in each case, they were recovering quite well before this little NFP drop. Let's take a quick look at the economic calendar. So this morning we had non-farm payroll, some jobs data. At 9:45 we have PMI. At 10 a.m. we have ISM Services Index. At 2:30 we do have a Fed speaker. And then looking to next week, we don't really have a ton on the calendar. In fact, it's the week after that we get CPI, PPI, I think all in the same week. So next week is very clear, leading into the middle of the month. So overall today, I want to see us try to hold 41.36.5, just like we dipped down and almost tapped it. We do have a 1 hour squeeze bottom there as well. Should we start to lose that, we do have a 2 hour squeeze bottom that spans down to 41.25. So if we start to lose that 41.36.5, that 2 hour could bounce us right back up. Overall, if we start to slip both of those, then we want to target back to 4,100 where the daily 8 sits. Below that, back to where POC was on Wednesday to start the week at 40.80. But if we can hold up here at this 41.36, looking to get back up to this zone above 41.56, 41.65. As you can see, we tried to hold that overnight pretty well. So want to see us hold, get back above that, and then try to push to the top of these squeezes. The 1 hour and 2 hour sit up, between 41.88 to 4,200. So let's see if we can hold, start to make another push back up to test yesterday's highs. With these squeezes in place, we might have a little bit of a sideways day. We just have to see if there's going to be profit taking and selling that step in to send us down, or if the overall momentum and sentiment right now on the long side is going to hold, if they're going to keep loading, especially on those big tech names that had a little pullback from their earnings. Let's move on to NQ. That's what I want to see, some fast loads. There we go. So NQ almost made it up to that 13,000 yesterday. Made it to 950. Now coming back a little bit. Overall, I want to see us try to hold that pre-market low near 12,580. Yep, 12,580 to 12,600. I want to see that try to hold us up and to get a bounce to pre-market highs or yesterday's highs. If we start to give out that pre-market low on NQ, we want to target down to this 12,500. We have a daily Keltner there as well. It's also the lows from yesterday's pre-market. So if we give out, that's first target. Should that give out, we want to target back to the daily 8, which is now caught up to our most recent high before we broke higher. So let's see if we can hold 12,500, make our way back up, and maybe even just hold pre-market lows to try to push to 13,000. Or if it's time to take a break, we lose this 12,580, 12,500, and come back to 12,250. On the ready. We made it up above 2,000 yesterday. And so far with this reaction, we're holding well at our last bounce point at about that 1986 up to 1990. So looking for that to hold. You could basically draw a little zone here. So looking for this little zone to hold today, and for ready to try to get back above 2,000, maybe push to yesterday's highs. If we start to lose this zone, then we want to target back to 1975 and then 1965, kind of where we were settling yesterday pre-market. Below that, we want to target back to 1950, 1941, near the daily 8. YM. Still struggling at this 34,000. We want to keep an eye on YM today because it kind of has been lagging. You know, we got above 34,000 and then right back below it. And then we tried to fight above it yesterday, and here we are right back below it. We do have our daily 50, daily 21, daily 15, all sitting below where YM is trying to bounce. Overall, I want to see us try to stay above 33,850. It's where the 21 and the 15 are sitting. As long as we can hold there at 850, looking to try to get back up to 34,000, push to pre-market highs, push through yesterday's and this week's highs, up to the top of these squeezes. But if we start to lose that 850, you want to target down to 770, 700, and then 500. Yep, to the bottom of these squeezes and maybe below. See if YM is going to hold up today at these daily moving averages. You know, even if YM just went sideways and wasn't tanking, would still help us for the upside. All right, Apple. So you can see we had our reaction right back to our zone here at 144, 145. And we are right back up near where we were yesterday. Overall, I'm looking for this 147.5 and this daily 200 at about 148, we'll just call it. Looking for that to hold us up. As long as we can stay above 147.5, 148, looking to carry back up to 150, 152, maybe push up to the next zone, 153.8, 154.7. If we start to lose that 147.5, then we want to target right back to this zone at 144.5, 145, where the daily 8 sits, and down at the bottom of our hourly 30-minute, 2-hour. You know, basically these squeezes are quite wide now because of that reaction. So let's see if we can hold that 147.5 at the very least, get back up. And if we start to lose that, we know we're going right back down to that zone. Amazon. Again, very strong push, made it back to the daily 200, key levels. Sold back to the key level below, 106.6. So basically looking for 10, these two wicks at about 105.5 up to 106.5. Looking for that to hold us up today on Amazon. If we can catch a bounce there, looking to get back up through 108, 109, that little pre-market high, to get back to this daily 200, 112, this key level 113.5, back up at the top of the squeeze. We start to lose this 106.5, 105.5. We want to target back to 104.25, 103.5 where the daily 8 sits, and this key level at 101.78. Google. Again, negative reaction, but just went right back to key levels. Overall, I want to see this 103 hold us up. We start to lose 103, likely coming back to 101 to test the bottom of this earnings wick. And that psych level 100 where the daily 8 sits. But if we can hold 103, we're going to get back above 105 where the daily 200 sits, back to 107.5 where we were topping out yesterday. And maybe even pushing up to the next zone if we can get some strong rotation into Google, if tech names are going to continue to lead and we're going to continue to rally. Otherwise, on all these names, we want to start targeting reversion to the mean. After such strong pushes and into earnings, they need to pick it up and continue, or we will get a reversion to the mean. Hence the title of today's prep. So Meta had a great reaction to earnings and went for more yesterday. Almost tapped 200. At this point, we're pinned between yesterday's lows of 180 and yesterday's highs up near 197. Let's see if we can hold pre-market lows near 183. Continue back above 190 and try to get through yesterday's highs. If we start to lose that 183, we're going to target back to 180, yesterday's lows. And should that give out, 175, 170, 168. Microsoft. Been making a great push up, almost tapped 30 Keltner yesterday at that 265. Now we're coming back. Overall, I want to see us hold above 258.5. It's where that daily Keltner sits at the bottom of this squeeze. As long as we can stay above 258.5, looking to get back above 260 and trying to push to 265, 266.72. But if we start to lose that 258.5, where that daily Keltner sits, we want to target back to 255, 254, where the daily 200 and the key level sit. Below that, 250, where the daily 8 sits. Netflix, doing a good job holding above this 361. We start to lose that, we want to target, down to 360, 357 where the daily 8 sits. Should we go past that, back to 353, 350, where we just kind of settled and bounced. But if we can hold up above 360, 361, then you want to target back up through 365 to yesterday's highs near 368, trying to get to 370 where we topped out recently. And if we can push more, 376, 378. NVIDIA got up above this 210, so looking for that to continue to hold and to try to catch a bounce back up to 215, 220. We almost got to 220 yesterday. If we start to give out this 210, we want to target back to 206, 204, and 200, where the daily 8 is now sitting on NVIDIA. QQQ. We made it up to this key zone. Let's add a little zone here. Pretty much to right about there. So, at the very worst, if we do slip a little more, looking for 303.5 up to 305 to try to support us. It's some of yesterday's pre-market lows, not counting these wicks, right? and our pre-market lows from today. It's at the bottom of this hourly squeeze. Yep. So 303 and a half to 305, looking for that to try to hold us this morning, to bounce us back up to potentially fill this gap. We closed around 311, gapping down like 5 points. So looking for this to hold us, maybe get a bounce back to this 9.5. I'm sorry, 309.5, 311, 312. If we start to give out this zone of support and go below 303.5, basically just want to target back to 300 and 298. Take a quick look at SPX. So we left behind a gap yesterday that we only barely dipped into. Let's see, we are gapping down 47 points. That'll get us near 4130. So we're going to be opening in this gap. Basically just looking to hold 4120, getting to, filling that gap and then trying to push up for a full gap fill. If we go below 4120, we want to target back to 4100 and 4080, where the daily 8 now sits. If we can hold that 4120, looking to get back up above 4150, and then try to push to a full gap fill, 4180-ish, and maybe to yesterday's highs, 4195. We just got to see if they're going to rotate into things, or if we ran into earnings, now we're starting to fade, NFP's dragging us. All it takes is them stepping in and taking profit, and sellers stepping in to short, and the momentum will shift to the downside. Overall on ES, as we always review, I track the 45 MAs. On all time frames, we have pulled down to that 1 hour 45 MA, trying to hold near there. If we lose that 41 and 36, we want to target down to 41.21, 25, 21, where the 2 hour sits, and then the 4 hour sits down at 40.87. Sorry about that, folks. So the 4 hour 45 down at 40.87 if we start to break down and go to test all of those. So moving on, SPY. So SPY trying to hold near yesterday's kind of overnight lows and starting to push lower. We're already arriving at this 36.5. Let's see if it's going to hold up or if we're just going to keep cascading down. We might open up so far down that they just kind of sit in between this 41.08, 41.36 if we do give out and open below it. On SPY, basically looking for 410, 409 to hold. We do have the bottom of our 2 hour squeeze at that 410. So ultimately would love to see us hold there and start to have a recovery bounce. Overall, we want to watch our trend line from highs on any kind of recovery bounce or partial gap fill. So let's see if we can hold at 410, try to make our way back to 414, and then we could reject and stay in here. If we can get through 414, then it's kind of a breakthrough retest and try to get back to yesterday's highs. But let's be cognizant that We ran into tech earnings. We have some negative reactions. We have some NFP negative reactions. This could be the start of a reversion to the mean. On SPY, that's back down to 400 pretty much, right? So let's see if we can hold up 409. If we start to give that out, back to the daily 8, here 406. Below that, 402.75, and then 400. Tesla. Tesla almost made it to 200 yesterday, and then came back. Now we're popping up, rejecting that 190. Overall, let's see if we can hold 183, 185. It should be any kind of support to bounce us back to 190, 195, 200. If we start to give out that 183, we want to target back to this 180. And then past that, back to 175, 170. On VIX, made it down to 17 and this 2-day squeeze bottom. And then yesterday, as the market was rallying and, even during its pullbacks and whatnot, VIX was just ramping all day. Meaning volatility is coming back in, going into those tech earnings. Basically, they've set it up perfectly to reverse back down. They've also set it up to get everybody thinking they're going to reverse it back down, trap some more bears, and then rip even more. Overall on VIX today, would love to see it stay under 18.5 and roll back under 18. That'll green light the upside off of these squeeze bottoms. But if we do get even a little more slipping during the cash session on the market and the names, and we see VIX get up to 18.919, would love to see it reject this daily 8. We already got to that daily 15 and rejected. Would love to see a rejection of that daily 8 and to come back down. For upside today, would really love to see us get back down below 18. But as we can see, VIX was moving up with the market. It's also going to move up as the market goes down. So if we're going to see more downside and break these squeezes back down to daily moving averages, we will likely see VIX stay above 18, continue up to this 18.919, and maybe push through yesterday's highs up to the daily 21 at 19.5. So overall, let's see, a minor gap up in VIX, nothing crazy. Come on, what are you doing, Toss? Oh man, full toss freeze. All right, well, I guess we'll just wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in today. Hopefully everybody found this helpful. If you did, maybe hit that like button. Otherwise, we will see you in the chat. It's a Friday, size down. Let's have some fun. Let's see if they're going to try to keep us up in this range with another bounce and gap fill on this gap down, or if they are ready to let it come back to daily moving averages. So that's it for prep. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see everybody in the chat.